Okay, so we should be live. Let's just say that we're live now. It's usually about a 10-second buffer or so. Yeah, okay, so we're live. So, what's up, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube? Southern Port back for a video. In case, I have a fork. Okay, so I got out of work only like I'm going to say not even an hour ago, and I last ate at 4 o'clock. So I'm just going to be eating for the first couple of minutes of the stream. I'm very sorry. I was running late. You know, it's a whole thing. I'm fucking hungry. Leave me alone. Oh fuck. Gee, I didn't do this in the back room. Fuck. I'm dropping shit. Okay, so joining me is Crafty Keela.
Hello.
And as the title of this video will tell you, we're going to be talking about Britney Spears. I was just saying to Keela, you know, like, it's not necessarily somebody that I kind of thought that I would be talking about in like 2021, but it's not just necessarily about her, which is something that, like Keela said, which I'm kind of annoyed that I didn't kind of think about on my own, but it's just the whole situation surrounding her, and like that it will undoubtedly affect other people, because I think that it's not just Britney Spears. Like, there's a lot of other celebs which is just kind of affecting. So yeah, it's just kind of super interesting, the whole kind of just the whole situation as a whole. I'll give myself a kind of excuse just to, as MathPig says, show off my face. And I'll let kind of Keela just kind of give her, you know, initial thoughts, first impressions, sort of.
Explain what this stream is actually about.
Yeah. You know, it's my channel, but, you know, like, you just do all the hard work and I'll just sit here and eat. It's fine.
That's pretty much what I do anyway.
Well, all right, okay. I'll leave you off of that one. It's fine.
Right, so the whole point of us talking about Britney fucking Spears. In the last month, there is a new documentary out. It's called Framing Britney Spears, and it's all about how Britney Spears was framed in terms of pictures in the media, and in over the last 12 years, her complete lack of autonomy under conservatorship and what the role of conservatorship means. Yes, MathPig, I do like to take charge. I do it so well.
I know I'm not drunk. I just said I finished work less than an hour ago. How quickly do you think I get drunk? Anyway, so sorry.
That would be remarkable.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that'd be an achievement.
In the documentary, they go through the whole entire timeline from her beginning right through to basically present day, and the Free Britney movement and what it means. So the Free Britney movement started up a few years ago after she first came out and said she wants to end the conservatorship, meaning the rule of her father over her entire life, not just over her business, what she wears, who she talks to, how long she talks to them, interview questions. Interviews also have to be monitored and edited before they're allowed to air. There is a whole scenario when she sees her kids, where they go, how long they spend together, the whole lot. So the latest, and one of the reasons why it's just blown up completely, is in the last year, last January, she was forced into a mental institution against her will, because she had a show starting in Las Vegas. This is before the lockdown, obviously. She had a show starting in Las Vegas. She refused to take the meds that she was being prescribed because they didn't suit her, or she didn't trust them, or whatever it was. Her father pulled the show and forced her into a mental institution. Now, what they said, 7 weeks went by. 7 weeks went by and nobody had heard from her at all, which was absolutely insane. And then something appeared on her Instagram. People didn't believe that it came from her, because her management team actually had access to her Instagram account. Another few weeks went by, still nobody heard from her. And then they were pumping out this story that, you know, she went in voluntarily. She decided to check herself in. But under the terms of conservatorship, she is not allowed to choose her own mental health program. She's not allowed to sign herself in. That is the whole point. They also said she signed herself out. She's not permitted to do that either. So there's a long history of control over Britney Spears, and the questioning that she had to go through under the media and the scrutiny of the media, especially post Me Too. and what that means for her life now. Only in the last, 2 years has she been able to even attend her hearings about the conservatorship, because the judge on her case, which was, I can't remember the judge resigned, bringing in Brenda J. Penny, a new judge, and basically said, yes, she can choose her own counsel, which she hadn't been allowed to do before. And she can attend her own hearings, which is huge. So she's trying to end the conservatorship and get her life back, basically.
Yeah.
And the question that we have to ask ourselves is that okay? Is it okay for someone to have a mental breakdown so publicly and then recover from it? I would argue that is okay, because we change all the time as people. And it doesn't mean that she should be locked up for the rest of her life, or basically in a cage for the rest of her life.
Yeah, like, it's just so weird to me, because I mean, like, Britney is 39, right? So she's going to be turning 40 this year, and she can't go to an ATM.
No, she can't.
Like, that's just fucking bonkers to me. Like, that's literally insane to me. Like, the fact that, okay, yeah, so, like, obviously everybody knows about the, like, infamous breakdown that she had in 2007, but I mean, should something that happened 13, 14 years ago, depending on exactly when that happened, like, should that still be holding her captive now?
Well,
maybe some people would say yes. I would personally say no.
Let's talk about that for a minute,
Yeah.
okay? So what happened? Because I have watched the documentary, which is helpful, by the way. It's I'm just saying it's helpful. The what happened in 2006 to 2008 was you had this realization by Britney that she's no longer a child, and they're still marketing her as a sex symbol, but an innocent sex symbol. So she had to be this role model to so many children, while also being attractive to males, because that was her base as well. So she had to play this dual role. So she was constantly being asked about her breasts in or her sex life, or relationships that she was in, which in today's terms, when we look at the questioning that she was asked, is completely ridiculous, out of line questioning. One of them actually said, I know there's a lot of talk in the press right now, so let's talk about something that you don't want to talk about, which is your breasts. And he actually said that. And he actually thought that was okay, you know? So this was going on, and she was rebelling against it. So a lot of people would have remembered the infamous shaving of the head and the getting the tattoos, walking down the street to the tattoo parlor and demanding tattoos. That was rebelling. The Las Vegas wedding, which was annulled immediately. That was the whole rebelling against her father and her mother trying to take control of her life. And the other person in this that has to be talked about is a woman called Lou Taylor. And Lou Taylor, before any of this happened, tried to get her hooks into the estate of Lindsay Lohan. When Lindsay Lohan had her breakdown, she tried to worm herself into the parents, and the whole thing blew up. And Lindsay rightly had the right counsel, said, fuck that, I want complete independence from my parents. And she was awarded that. Britney didn't have that. So what happens is Lou Taylor grabs her hooks into to Jamie and Lynn Spears, her parents, and basically says, you have to get conservatorship, like what she said to Lohan's parents. You have to get conservatorship, because if you get conservatorship, you have complete and utter control. So in the run up to this, there's all of this behavior. She marries Federline, thinking that she's happy. She has always said she wanted a child. She wanted that love, and so she wants to just delve into the life of being a mother. Her parents wouldn't allow that to happen. The record company wouldn't allow that to happen, and they scheduled another tour. So there was a whole thing around that. Then you had You didn't have the media laws that we have today, the paparazzi laws, to say that you weren't allowed to interfere with someone's personal life. They were following her into stores and shoving 37 to 50 cameras in her face as she was trying to do her shopping. Like, they were actually going into the stores. They weren't just waiting outside. They weren't just in the car park. They were following her around from the time she left her home, right in through the stores, and then back. And what was happening as well was they were trying to get, some of the paparazzi were lying on the ground as she opened her car door to get really inappropriate photos. So one day she fucking snaps. Do you blame her? Is that really a meltdown, or is that the right fucking response to people constantly invading your privacy?
Yeah, I want to kind of like do a side avenue that is that is very much connected to this kind of overall story, but I think it's a very important one, and it's the fact that Britney, from when she was like first kind of like thrust into fame, as Crafty said, that like she was immediately kind of turned into this like sex symbol, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the like very kind of like, you know, weird and like almost dangerous part of this. Now, look, I get that, you know, she had her first single, you know, it was the mid to late 90s. I get that it was a different time, but even like still not that long ago, and still even by then not acceptable. She was turned into a sex symbol when she was 16,
She
which
was
is
17.
like 17. I
Yeah.
googled it. It's she said 60. Anyway, the point is she was still a minor. Like
Yeah.
16, 17, she was still a minor, and she was turned into a sex symbol. The first video that she does, you know, she's in the fucking schoolgirl outfit, right? Which is like, it's this like massive thing for like a lot of guys, you know, like if they're like, that's what a lot of guys find sexy, right? Or what they find attractive or anything else like that. The the fact that she was like, you know, in this very provocative video, you know, dressed like that when she was a minor, like it's really, really like strange and weird. But I mean, like, that's not even like the only example or the best example that we have of this. I mean, there was a story, it was only a couple of years ago, of a subreddit that was known for years. A lot, like hundreds of thousands of people knew about this subreddit. I'd actually go so far as to say that millions of people did. But it was only when the media kind of caught on that, you know, like a lot of people had their eyes very much focused on Reddit, and then it was eventually taken down, which, okay, yeah, it's fine. But the fact that it was allowed to continue for years is unbelievable. So the subreddit was r/jailbait,
Yeah.
which was, you know, again, kids,
Exactly what you
minors
think.
that were
Exactly what you think.
exactly what you think. But it also, like, and this was what like a lot of the kind of scandal was around, aside from, okay, so the fact that there was like a subreddit of jailbait was already a scandal, but the scandal within the scandal was that it was a breeding ground for the distribution of child porn, which like, so, but I mean, like, even kind of look at any of the kind of, you know, video titles on porn now, you know, like the like, what do we see? You know, like barely legal, just turned 18, you know, schoolgirl, like all of these sorts of things. Like, we are like fetishizing the idea that it's somewhat normal to be attracted to somebody that you think, or, you know, physically appears as being a minor, which is really, really fucking strange. Now, of course, I'm not saying that that started with Britney. I'm just saying that she's just one example of that being the massive fucking problem that it is. And it's just so bizarre that this was normalized, or like at least like nothing was done about it for years. I think it was like 5 years that subreddit was going for. With
Yeah,
it's
it was a
it's
ridiculous
just
amount of time.
it's just yeah, it's just so odd. And like, yeah, it's just the fact that, like, as Crafty had said as well, that like she was turned into this sex symbol, but also kind of had to be this like purity person, who, like, Britney was kind of forced to go out in interviews and say, yeah, that that she like has a boyfriend, or that like there was a lot of them where she was with Justin Timberlake at the time,
Hmm.
and she still had to say, oh yeah, no, that she's a virgin, right? Because she has to be pure, which is just
Well,
like
here's the thing. Here's the thing. When she had the very very public breakup with Justin Timberlake,
mm,
and I remember around that time, um, what's interesting about it is, in a way, because of how he conducted himself and the blame that he ascribed to her for that breakup,
mm,
and
mm,
it was vitriolic. He forced people to take sides. And it was. Do you know what it reminded me of? It was a rerun of the Monica Lewinsky scandal, only in
yeah,
entertainment.
yeah,
That's what it felt like. Anytime she had a smoke, anytime she had a drink, anytime she was seen, whatever. Oh, she's a whore. Oh, she's this. Oh, she's that. She's the reason. She's the blame. She's the fault. And he allowed himself to slag her off very subtly, but not subtly, in every interview he did. And that was okay for him to do. He actually hired a lookalike for his video to harass her further because he had
yeah.
a bitter breakup with her. Like, what? Why was that acceptable at all? Now, I like the song, but why was that acceptable?
Mm,
The video was way out of line. Like,
yeah,
yeah, yous broke up, build a fucking bridge and get over it. Don't turn into a creepy stalker guy only
yeah.
talking about how your ex broke your heart. Get over it. Do you know what I mean? Especially something so public. He had people looking up to him, and he had people uh, thinking that that was an acceptable way of treating her.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like also the fact that like he went and he did several interviews afterwards where he like openly and publicly talked about their sex life.
Yeah,
Like, dude,
you don't
fucking,
do it. Don't
like
do it.
that's
What?
private, man. Like, I
Here's a
get
question.
that.
Here's a question. What's so different between going in depth into their sex life and revenge porn? Because
Exactly.
that's literally what it is in verbal terms.
Yeah, it's just a spoken version of that. Yeah, yeah.
Like,
Exactly. Because I mean,
mm.
like, Britney didn't give him permission to go out and talk about their sex life. So, I mean, like,
And she never did.
yeah, but I mean, like, it's sort of just like one of those things, because I mean, like, they were together for years. Like, did people seriously think that she was that fucking pure that you can be in a relationship with someone for years and not ever have like? It's kind of implied that they did, but just the fact that he went out and he made this like big fucking song and dance about, like, bragging about his like sex life with Britney. It's just like, if somebody did that now, and they don't even have to be famous, like, if like somebody did that now, it's like, okay, so if like one of my friends, right, said, like start like constantly talking, constantly bragging about their sex life with their current partner, right, and it'd just be like, I'm just going to be straight up and totally honest. My initial reaction to that happening would just be like, yeah, he's kind of overcompensating for like something, right? Like, why the fuck is he constantly talking about this? Like, it's really kind of weird. I'd feel a little bit like gross hearing about it, because I like, one of the things that would be going through my head was just like, does she know that or does he know that you're talking about like the, what I mean? Like, it's just like, this is like deeply, deeply personal details. Like, it's extremely personal information about like what goes on, but like in the privacy of like two people's relationship. So it's just
And
it's
what's worse is Justin Timberlake had the knowledge, had the experience of being in the limelight. So he knew
yeah,
exactly what he was doing. He knew the pressures that be putting under her, and it just wasn't acceptable. Regardless of what happened, regardless of whether she
mm,
cheated or not, regardless of whether she ended it or not, it doesn't matter the details, man. If you really cared about her, you would not have fucking given the
yeah.
private details of your relationship over to anyone, no matter how bitter you were. Just don't be a dick. It's not a hard thing to do. Just don't be a
Yeah,
dick.
yeah, which it's just like, look at, like, I'm not like a massive feminist or anything. Like, I'm like a second wave. Like, I don't really kind of like, that's the one that I kind of most associate with. I don't really kind of follow the like waves. Like, I believe that like everybody, regardless of gender, sexual orientation, should like have equal rights under the law. Like, regardless, everybody should be completely like equal opportunities. All that sort of crack. But like, just exactly as Keela said, just don't be a dick. Everybody goes through breakups. A lot of people are famous, and a lot of people go through breakups when they're famous. Not everybody. I would even go like, most people don't go out and publicly talk about their previous sex life with somebody that they were with, because it immediately, and because it so it's like already gross, right? And it's already like an overreach and a breach of privacy and all of those things. But it's also because Britney was also famous. So like, this is going to, like, maybe not encourage, but it's going to naturally, result in paparazzi, in journalists, in like people doing
Harassment.
interviews with Britney, harassing her, constantly asking her, like, is this true? Is what like Justin's saying is true? He, at least, at a bare minimum, indirectly caused a massive amount of harassment towards Britney, and that's just unacceptable. Like, it's just unacceptable. He was a colossal dick for
Yeah.
doing that, because he knew, as you said, he's been in the limelight, he's been famous, he knows what that will do, and he purposefully did it.
Yeah. And so, I mean, adding that and that trauma, and it was trauma, added to that, there was the Vegas wedding, added to
Mm,
that, and that was annulled by her people. They wouldn't allow it. Added to that, the Federline betrayal. And she has 2 kids, right? So
mm,
here's the thing. After her second child, she was going through postnatal depression. Don't care what anyone says. She was going through postnatal depression, and she was being
yeah.
harassed everywhere she went. You can see some of the footage from around that time where she was so frazzled and she was so exhausted, and she was just, at any time the paparazzi surrounded her car, she was ready to cry. She was on breaking point, and one day
Mm,
she fucking broke and
yeah.
she snapped. And so the problem with it is they used that moment of vulnerability to, and I do believe that she was harassed as much, if not more, than Princess Diana. They had not learned their
Mm,
lesson from Princess Diana at all. And remember, Princess Diana died in 1997. So this is 10 years before
mhm.
she Princess Diana died. So 10 years later, they're still fucking doing it. And
Yeah.
as bad, if not worse, in Britney Spears' case. Because they had people texting the media to tell the media where she'd be. So she couldn't get away from it at all. And she snapped. And the question when it came to the conservatorship is, should you be judged for the rest of your life in your worst moment? Would you like to be judged for the rest of your life in your worst moment?
Hell no. I know that I certainly fucking wouldn't be, But I mean, like, all of us have been through, like, times in our life where, you know, we like wish it didn't happen, or like we've like had similar kind of situations. Obviously, Britney's was on a much more public scale, right? And that, like, everybody was kind, like, everybody was privy to it, and everybody kind of understood it. But that kind of almost adds to, as Crafty said, the trauma that she went through. And I think it's kind of right to call it that, because you know, every single one of us have been through shit in our lives, right? And at one point or another, whether we even kind of realized it ourselves, we've all kind of broken down, right? And we've all just had that moment. It's kind of like a cliche where you hit rock bottom, right? And you like, it's not even to say, oh, you know what, well, the only way to go is up. It's not even that. It's just like, a lot of people know what that feeling is, and to have that broadcast to the entire fucking world, that, like, fuck, that is trauma, man. I'm sorry. That is absolutely fucking trauma, because everybody is looking at your situation. Everybody is going to judge you to one degree or another. Like, the idea that this was like somewhat okay, or that it went on for as long as it did, like, but like they were harassing her in just really fucking weird ways. Like, I
Yeah.
read this and I couldn't really kind of believe it for a second because of just how strange and how odd it was. I read that one of the main reasons why Britney shaved her hair off is because people were harassing her thinking that her hair was fake and that it wasn't her real hair, and that's why she shaved, or like that was at least something that contributed to the reason why she did shave it off. Like, what the fuck is that? You don't think her hair is real? Like, what, dude, like, what does it even matter if it is or
Yeah.
not? Does anybody, and I mean anybody, now I know that she's not exactly the best person to bring up because this could be an entirely different fucking video, but does anybody actually think that Sia's hair is real? Nobody thinks that Sia's hair is real. It's obviously a fucking wig. Like, and look, I get her new movie, which is bizarrely called Music. It's
Yeah, let's not talk about that one this time.
That's a whole different video. That could probably be next week's video.
Let's avoid that like the plague right now.
But
the less said about that one, the better.
But it's the point is, like, does anybody really care if it's her real hair or not? Like, I don't. I wouldn't give a shit if Britney was going out on every music video, on every tour, on every public appearance, on every interview that she did in a wig. I wouldn't give a shit. Yeah. What fucking difference does it make? It's just really fucking weird. So the fact that she was kind of driven to, prove them wrong, or like even that just being a contributing factor into the reason why she shaved her head, like, dude, what the fuck? What? Just why? I just don't like it. It's just the amount of harassment that she got.
Especially after the VMAs. I think it was the VMAs, the 2007 VMAs, where she just wasn't in her right mind. She wanted to do it just because she wanted to do it, but she really wasn't in the headspace to do it, and she had the wrong people around her. But the problem, like, let's get to the conservatorship for a minute. So what happened was because of all of this shite, Federline basically said, I want the kids. And so she had access to the kids overnight. And then she refused to give them back because she had two friends telling her, you're their mother, you can't give them up, you can't give them back, buddy, and got inside her head. And then basically told her to lock herself in the house and they'll stand guard and make sure nobody comes in the house. And then at one point, when like 11 police cars showed up, two ambulances, and I think a fire truck or two fire trucks showed up at her house, which is absolutely ridiculous show of force. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
The friends told her the police were leaving so she can open the house up again, and that let the police into the house. So after telling her not to give the kids back, and telling her to lock herself in the house and they'll keep guard, and then falsely telling her that the police were leaving, she was taken away in an ambulance into a mental institution. And that's what allowed her father to go for conservatorship. And under the terms of conservatorship, she was not allowed to run her own finances. Like what you were saying earlier, Stephen, she was not allowed to even go to an ATM. She was not even allowed a bank card, because that's just it. Now, again, we can talk about privilege and we can talk about wealth and all the rest of it, but that's not the point. She was forced. She did her show, or she did her album, because she was writing while she was at rock bottom, and she did write the album. There we go. This is.
I'm just going to be just like slowly scrolling through this, just kind of as we're talking, just so the
yeah. So
audience can kind of
I'll get to that now in a minute. So the conservatorship, they went in and they said, look, she's not competent, she can't set her own legal advice. She can't do anything on her own. we have to do it for her. She can't run her own life. And then used the media to help them with that. And so basically what they did was they used her as a performing monkey for the next 10 years to get money out of her. Like one of them, Larry Rudolph, who she had sacked on 2 previous occasions, was brought back, put on the conservatorship, and basically became her manager again after being sacked twice because he would control her in the way that her father wanted. Adam Lieber is another one who was sacked multiple times, who was brought back to control her. Again, Lou Taylor was in her dad's ear, Jamie's ear, telling him what to ask for. And again, with Lou Taylor, you have to remember she tried to get her hooks into Lindsay Lohan, and she tried to get her hooks into the Amanda Bynes thing when Amanda Bynes had her breakdown. So she's a leech, and she likes to suck as much money out of women in crisis as she can. So basically what started to happen, because she wasn't allowed to do her interviews without the questions being vetted and everything else, what she started to do was everything was about cages. In her show, everything became she is in a cage, which was very fucking clever. She was telling people, I'm trapped here. I'm in a cage here. And the cage as a symbol for how she was feeling. She was constantly asked, well, I say constantly, when she got the chance, she was begging for the conservatorship to end. She was begging the judge to accept the lawyer that she wanted representing her. And for 10 years, she was told no. In 2017, as I said, Brenda J. Penny was brought in because the previous judge retired. And Brenda said, okay, you can attend the hearings. And in that time, as I said, she did like 5 tours, 3 or 4 albums. She did, she was capable enough and competent enough to be a judge, to judge young talent on X Factor in the States. And yet she wasn't competent enough to say what clothes she wanted to wear that day.
It's look, it's just, I don't get it, man. Like, you know, the whole conservatorship thing, like, if it was a thing that was kind of brought in, you know, temporarily, right? Because, you know, she did obviously, yes, Math Big 3 albums. She did obviously she did obviously have, you know, a very kind of public, you know, breakdown and stuff like that, right? And so, like, maybe even temporarily, you know, for the course of a year, could somebody have been kind of, you know, stepped in to take control of her finances? You know, like, there's an argument to be made there. But almost 14 years later, no, there's no defense of it. There's just none.
Sammy says the same thing happened to Michael Jackson. No, well, in a way, yes. So conservatorship in the US was brought in for predominantly elderly people who were basically sufferers of dementia, so that they wouldn't be taken advantage of. That they would nominate someone to be to make decisions on their behalf. That was what it was designed to do. Britney was in her mid-20s when she went under conservatorship. And one of the prosecutors said that in their career, they had never seen a conservatorship end. Not ever. And that is a scary thing, because again, what you're looking at is these people who have an interest and an incentive to keep the conservatorship going because they get shitloads of money. Like, I think Larry Rudolph got $2 million a year out of her estate. This is forcible internment. That's what it is. They have complete and utter control. She has no autonomy at all. No autonomy at all. And the question is, is that an okay thing to do in the 21st century, even if we are talking about celebrity? Because regardless of how you feel about Britney Spears as an artist, I'm not a fan. I'm really not. It's not my type of music. Now, there's a few songs that I'd sing if I was in a club or whatever. I'd go bop along to. But I'm not a fan of Britney Spears. But it is the complete stripping of any autonomy, personal autonomy of this woman, because she had a rough 2 years. And she will never get that back unless people start to make noise. And that's what they've been doing for the last year and a half. That is what this documentary is covering and trying to shed light on. This is literally forced labor. This is enslavement of a human being in the first world to dance monkey dance and give us lots of money. We'll control your money because you're not capable because we say so. That's what this is. And if it was anyone else, even if they weren't a celebrity, take the celebrity status away. Would it be okay to take your child, 25 years old, and force them into work for 15 hours a day, 7 days a week, in a spotlight or whatever, or force them to work wherever it was for 12 years, and they see nothing of it? They can't control it. Take away that celebrity status. Is it okay? Of course it's not.
Yeah.
It's basic slavery. The only difference is it's in entertainment and there is the illusion of choice. She has no choice. There is no choice here. It was taken away, and by the looks of it, she's not going to get it back unless people really fight her corner. Unless she gets the representation that she's desperate for, that she's asking for. And thankfully, I hope with this new judge, she'll allow it.
Yeah, I mean, look, it is. I mean, yeah, like basically everything that you said is just 100%. You know, like it is absolutely forced labor, and whether you like the person or not, like it doesn't actually really matter. Um, like you could even kind of fill in the blank of like take Britney out and put your favorite artist in. Would you be okay with it then? I hope that you wouldn't be okay with it anyway. But if that's kind of a way of kind of getting some people on side, then sure. But like what I kind of
take take the artist shit away. Take the celebrity status away. Think of your best friend. Put your best friend in that situation, working nonstop for years and years and years, and their parents because Lynn was actually cut out of it in 2012 or 2011. So she has had no control. Her mother has had no control. And they walked into the courthouse last year together. So you have to look at it in that regards. Take away the celebrity bullshit. Put in place of Britney Spears, put in your brother's name, your sister's name, someone forcing them to work for so many hours, for so many days, under constant scrutiny, under constant harassment, and let's see what would you say? What would you say? Would you accept it?
Yeah, look, I mean, the only thing that I kind of have to, or like what I was going to say was, look, I mean, the internet is an extremely powerful thing. And it's an extremely, amazing way of kind of raising awareness about certain things and about, like getting people to kind of realize, that like this shit is wrong. And, if just from online petitions and general conversations about it, we we as like a collective, we as a people have gotten some justice for Johnny Depp. All we need to do is just talk about it more. All we need to do is like push this into the face of everybody until people realize this shit is fucking wrong and something needs to change. Something needs to happen here. Because as you said, you know, she's brought out 3 albums since. She's been a judge on the X Factor. Um, she's been, you know, able to do all of these things and have her, and I swear I mean this in the loosest possible terms, but have her freedom to some extent, right? She's, you know, she's like, if she's able to do all of these things, then she should be able to have control over her own finances.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. She has said she doesn't mind a conservatorship even continuing over her business, over her finances, as long as her personal life she's able to control. But I would go further. This man who has been put in charge of this young woman is known for his abuse. The whole point of her getting into showbiz was some sort of avoidance of the abuse that was in her home. And they just handed every aspect of control over to this man who abused her mother, who abused her verbally as a child. That's what they did. They gave complete control of her life to her fucking abuser. That's what pisses me off the most. Regardless of how you view it, this man, one of the reasons why she got involved in the Disney Club was because it would take her out of the state that he was in. She didn't want to be at home. She was there when her dad picked up a glass of water from her mother and threw it across the room and started a fight with her. She was there in the room when that happened. This is a man who abused people in that household. And he has complete and utter dominance over every aspect of her life. That's the worst aspect of this.
Yeah. Again, you know, I don't disagree with what you've said. It's just, I don't. As I said, I mean, just like shit needs to happen and shit needs to change, and you know, as I said, like I hope that this is kind of, you know, shared around like everywhere that it possibly can be and stuff like that, and that people realize, you know, that like this is just extremely wrong, and that change comes from it, because it's just, I mean, like, what does it say? Like, what precedent does it say? You know, that, and yes, this is what I wanted to kind of say as well, which is, this is a continuation, or it's a different aspect of, or it's a different way of continuing the stigmatization of mental health, and of, you know, like keeping people who have been through struggles with mental health down, right? Britney can't. She physically can't 100% move on from what happened, from her breakdown, because she does not have complete autonomous control over herself and over her own life. There's always there's like, as long as this continues, there's still going to be some aspect of her life which is controlled and which is under, you know, which is under the knife. Is that the right phrase? I don't know. The point is, because we have stigmatized mental health, and like, it's this whole thing of like, I mean, like, how often have you, or of anybody else in the live chat, or anybody else that is going to watch this, how often have you heard the phrase or the sentence, sure, they're a celebrity, what do they have to be depressed about? You know, they've all the money
Yep.
and all the power in the world.
Yep.
Yeah, but
And that's,
money
that's
and
what was
power
said, yeah.
doesn't buy happiness. It doesn't buy all of these things. You know, yeah, you're going to be secure, and yeah, you'll be able to afford, like, you know, anything that, you know, like the biggest and most fanciest house and all this sort of thing. That doesn't mean that you're immune to the effects of mental health.
Yeah.
It just doesn't mean that. And the fact that we have, like, punished Britney by not allowing her to move on, not totally, from what happened. Like, that's the biggest problem here.
Well, here's the thing. Britney, as I said, I believe she had postnatal depression. It was clear. It was clear from
Mm.
how she behaved that she was going through postnatal depression. And then her babies were taken away, you know, which adds to the reinforcement of the belief that she was a bad mother, right? And you have papers all over the world asking the question, is she a decent mother? All right. And what does she have to be
Yeah.
depressed about? Why would she have postnatal depression? She's rich and whatever. One of the reasons why she was forced into that mental institution last year was she was getting ready for a new show starting in Las Vegas. And a new doctor was prescribing her medication for bipolar. She has never been officially confirmed as bipolar. She didn't want to take them. She refused to take them because she didn't know what they were. They were making her feel funny. She wasn't going to take them.
Mm.
Her dad said, and this is from a solicitor who resigned from the group that was in charge of the conservatorship. What happened was she refused to take the pills. He said, okay, no show for you. Called up Las Vegas and fucking cancelled the show and said, bye-bye, you're going into that mental institution. And sent her away. Because, and that's basically, he threw a straw because she wouldn't take meds that she didn't know what she was taking. And tell me that's not abuse of power, first of all. And second of all,
Absolutely.
she was interned against her will. She is, as I said, she is competent enough to do this fucking show six times a week, while also 50-50 parenting of her children. At this point, she had 50-50 control of the kids.
Mm.
She was competent enough for that. But she had to take these new pills to make her more docile, and she wouldn't take them. And so she was forcibly put into a mental institution. Now, what does that say for young women going into the entertainment industry? What does that say to me, who has been diagnosed with bipolar? Is there a case that my mother, at some point, I'm 33 next month, can she then go to the court and say, I'm not competent enough, so anything that I own is hers? She gets to control literally every aspect, but I still have to go to work. I still have to earn to pay my way. But she controls everything. She controls what I wear. She controls what I do. Do you know what I mean? What does it say? As you said, what does that say to people with actually diagnosed conditions? Because, as I said, the conservatorship was supposed to be designed for elderly people, people with dementia, people that literally could not run their own lives, to give them protection from anyone that would try to scam them. That's what it was supposed to be set up for. Now we're using it. They tried to use it under Lindsay Lohan when she lashed out at her desired ideology or whatever they wanted her to be. She lashed out. They tried to get conservatorship of her. She avoided it. They did the same thing to Amanda Bynes. They did the same thing. They tried to do the same thing to Miley Cyrus when she lashed out, and she avoided it. Which was most notable when, standing on stage, Miley Cyrus called out Free Britney, and gave a lot of people a lot of validity to the movement to Free Britney.
Yeah.
But these other women who have had, I don't even call it a mental breakdown, because I don't think that's what it was. It was literally rebellion. It was rebelling
Yeah.
against the image that they were being forced to maintain, because women in the entertainment industry, especially childhood actors and actresses, childhood entertainers, have to remain that idea of purity. And when they don't go along with it, they are demonized. And that's exactly what happened with Britney. That's exactly what happened with Lindsay. That's exactly what happened with Amanda. And that is exactly what happened with Miley. This is what happens to young women and people beyond that as well. Other women beyond that as well.
Yeah, but it's just this like really, really like weird notion that like people have to stay this element of purity. Like, yeah, like look at like if like when you're a kid or like when you're a child actress or like even kind of away from that, like just when anybody is a kid, like is there that element of purity? Yeah, of course, because they're totally innocent and they're like all of these things. But just the fact that like people have this weird notion that you should stay that way, like that's just bizarre to me. Because everybody grows up and everybody matures and everybody, you know, um, loses their purity in a way, right? And like whether that's just through like, you know, just like a part of growing up, whether that's, you know, like even though I don't even like that I'm kind of including this as a standard, but like, you know, obviously it kind of like is in some weird way. But you know, I mean, like as soon as you have sex for the first time, if that's kind of losing your purity, which like anyway, like it's just so fucking bizarre. But I mean, to like the it just to kind of talk about something that you had said earlier, I am bipolar. Um, and I get prescribed meds, you know, every month. I don't take them. I don't know whether you can tell or not, but the only reason that I don't is because when I do, like it, what those meds do is they essentially stop you from feeling anything. So you're just like emotionally numb, right? So like my moods, like I'm either like ecstatically happy or like suicidally depressed, right? Or and like in like all of these like different kind of, you know, areas. And like so I do kind of go like you know, massively kind of like manic, and it's like all over the place. It's the most extreme ends of basically every emotion, right? Like that's kind of how it like affects my but and yet look at like I do get a little bit manic and I do get a little bit crazy and stuff like that, but I would prefer to kind of deal with that and to deal with any potential fallout or any, you know, any possible consequences of that rather than just feeling just, well, I mean literally nothing.
Yeah.
Because I just don't get excited about things. I don't have any motivation to do things. I don't like because I mean, like, what's the point, right? Like, what's the point in like sitting down and, you know, watching a comedy or listening to an album or doing any of these things if you don't get any emotional payout from it, right? So if you sit down and watch a comedy, obviously you know you're expecting to laugh, right? But if I don't have, if those meds are stopping me from like from experiencing that, then what's the fucking point? So I'm more than happy to deal with any potentials if I get to live my life in the most normal way that I possibly can. I'm more than happy to do that. Now, the reason why I brought that up is because if that's what it does to me, right? I can't even imagine what that would have done to Britney on the assumption that she's not actually bipolar. If she is, then that's what it would have done to her, right? Or something very, very similar. But if she wasn't, I mean, it's sort of like taking any sort of medication that you don't suffer from, right? Like it's going to have some weird effects. You know what I mean? So like it's just kind of going into that kind of area of it. Like, yeah.
Two things. First of all, medication works for some people, doesn't work for others.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that if one particular medication doesn't work for you, it doesn't mean that you won't find. And here's the problem with bipolar meds: is that they try what they're supposed to do. If you're willing to work with your medical team, which you absolutely should, they will. You have to be on something for about 6 weeks before you'll even feel the real change, before you actually manage your mood, your levels. So it takes at least 6 weeks. A lot of people rebel against it because they feel the immediate effects because they don't have the dosage right, or they don't have the correct medication. That's the first thing I'll say. I'm not medicated at the moment, which I'm very lucky not to be. Does not mean that I'm against it. Does not mean I won't be in the future. For some people, it works. That's all I'm going to say on that. Second thing, I was asked a question in the chat there. Is it possible for her to legally get back control of her life? It is absolutely possible. And this is why the hearings over the last little while, and they've been postponed. Again, she was forcibly interned, which means that she didn't have any conservatorship court dates. And even if she did, she wasn't allowed to attend them. Under this new judge, she is allowed to attend them. So that's a huge step forward. Her being able to attend, first of all. So the judge can see she's time management. She's there on time. She is able to stay quiet and listen to the lawyers speak on her behalf and on her father's behalf without interrupting or without getting emotional. That is a big thing for her. This is the steps that she needs to take. Being with her mother, that display of her going into court with her mother to say, look, I have a support network around me. I have a parental figure that I'm willing to accept and to trust in helping manage my life. And this is who I choose to be around and whatever. So the next thing is she needs to get the representation that she's asking for, that she has been asking for years. She has to be able to decide on her own counsel. Once she's able to decide on her own counsel, she is able to then decide on her defense. Once she's able to decide on her defense, then she has to be allowed to testify and to have another. So what happened was in the initial conservatorship investigation, what they did was they sent out an independent medical officer to test her mental capacity. They never told her he was arriving. So it was like middle morning or early morning that he arrived. She was already dosed up. She didn't really know what she was saying. And he deemed her unable to testify. Not competent enough to testify. So that's the big thing. She needs to take those steps, first of all, to show she's responsible in the court settings in front of the judge, then to get her own counsel, decide her own defense, or influence her own defense, and then she has to be able to testify, and she has to be able to be investigated again or tested again of whether or not she's competent enough to run her own life. And step by step, then what she can say is, well, just take away the conservatorship over my personal life. Allow me that and allow me to show you that I'm willing to take steps. They can have control over the business side of things, but let me have control over my health, my clothing, my children. Allow me that space to prove to the court that I'm able to be competent enough to do this. And then she goes for her the conservatorship to end over her business. That's the steps that she has to take. But the big thing is the judge is not going to allow her to fucking testify or allow her to do any of that unless there's pressure put, unless there is a support network there to say, you need to look at this again. There is pressure there to say, we are watching you. We are watching what you're doing. We are watching what you're saying. Whereas beforehand, they weren't really doing that. The judge was coming down and automatically stamping. She wasn't even reading the documents. She wasn't really listening. It was like, and I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist here, but everything indicates that she was being paid off to allow the conservatorship to continue. All evidence points to that, but I don't have evidence to say that she was.
Yeah, it was just kind of one of those things that I had seen, and I don't actually know if it was confirmed or not. You had said that you had seen the documentary. What I read was that Britney's father used um, used her children as leverage into forcing her to sign the conservatorship, because she basically, because, and again, this is just what I read, that he had basically said that he was going to go for custody, or he was going to stop Britney from seeing um her children, like, if she didn't sign it.
What
That's
was
at least what
said,
I.
yeah, what was actually said was he will testify against her if Federline goes for full custody. That's what he said. You will never see your
Mm,
children again, and I will make sure, because I believe that you're a danger to your children, you will never see your children again. And knowing how much she wanted to be around her children, absolutely, and right the way through, her children have been used by multiple people to attack her competency or to attack her independence. Every time she opened up about conservatorship, she was threatened with not seeing her children. Like that. That's well documented.
mm.
Even up to the last argument of the new show. She was designing it around the fact that she had 50-50 control over the children. And her father said, take the meds or you'll never see your kids again. I will put you away into an institution and you will never come out and you will never see them again. That's what he said to her in that argument.
Yeah, which I mean, like, look, I
You can
mean,
never
like,
use them as children.
that has everything, like, it's blackmail, it's emotional manipulation, like, um
It's not just emotional manipulation,
it
it's
has
emotional abuse.
yeah, I mean, it like that just has everything to, like, if you put that into a case as to why her father shouldn't have conservatorship over her finances, like, I mean, like, that should, right, like maybe I'm oversimplifying things, maybe I'm kind of looking at this through the rosiest of tinting of glasses, but I mean, like, that seems like just that on its own is enough for any judge in the right fucking mind to be able to be like, well, no, clearly you should not have this control over her, because anytime that you've been in a position where you could exercise or leverage that control over Britney to negatively impact her life, you've tried to do it, or you've attempted to do it. So, like, even in, like, any other circumstance where, he might be the best person, simply because of that alone, that should not, like, he shouldn't have that power over her because of what he's done and of what he's threatened to do, right?
Absolutely.
Like, maybe I'm oversimplifying it, maybe I am, but that, like that just seems like just open and shut, like, straightforward case to me.
That man should never have been given conservatorship. If conservatorship was given, it should have been given to her mother.
Yeah.
It should never, ever have been given to her father, because it wasn't her father bringing her across the country to perform and all of these different things that she wanted to do. It was her mother. It should never have been given to her father. Her father is a dictatorial little so and so. I won't even say. Like the levels of disgust that I have for her father, like it's amazing. Again, I'm not a fan of Britney Spears. I would not be. I'm not a fan of celebrity culture. I think celebrity culture is toxic. But when you are a female, the same is true with multiple women in the entertainment industry. But because she was that symbol of early 21st century. She was the first pop princess since Madonna. And she
Yeah.
had that status for so long. She was constantly working. She was constantly reinventing herself. And it was the attention that she got that ultimately led to vultures. The vultures at her door. And they never went away. And now they have complete control. So hopefully, my hope is that because of this documentary, really because of this documentary, which has come from a spontaneous movement of fans, hopefully she'll get her life back and she'll be allowed to retire like she wanted to do 6 years ago, and just concentrate on being a mother. She'll be given back her life. She didn't want to do, initially, she didn't want to do the show in Vegas, the first show in Vegas. That was her father that forced her to do it. Now, she enjoyed it. She worked hard. She did what she had to do. He had her on a diet for 18 months. He chose what she ate, when she ate, what she wore, how she danced. He decided the choreographers, the diet. He dictated everything, literally everything in her life for 18 months. And then she said, okay, well, I've worked hard. I've got myself back to a stable emotional state. Can this end? I think it was Circus. When she did Circus, which was the second album after the breakdown, after the conservatorship, he told her
What was the
after
name of the first one? Was it Blackout? Was that the name of the first
yeah.
one? Blackout. Yeah.
After Circus, he promised her if she did the world tour for Circus, the conservatorship would end. He promised her. He lied. He said that to her, that there was a possible end, that he would end the conservatorship after Circus. He lied. It's still there. And it's now gone on 13 years.
It's just, yeah, I mean, like, what more can I kind of say on it? It's just this, like, really, but look, I obviously understand, like, exactly why, it was first implemented, right? And it, like, first came to be, like, a thing that happens, right? Obviously with, like, patients who have dementia or Alzheimer's or any of these other things, the whole list on down. I get why it was put in for that, right? Because it just makes sense in that situation. But, like, for it to be used on someone as young as Britney was at the time, who was going through, like, this radically reactionary phase of her life, right? Of, like, trying to kind of be who she was, right? She's like, it's the whole thing with, like, Miley as well, right? That, like, she was kind of desperate to get away from this, like, purity of Hannah Montana, and like, yeah, maybe, might some people say that she took it a little bit too far by twerking against Robin Thicke with a foam finger. But look, like, might some people, but look, it doesn't really actually matter what she did. The point is that, like, it's that same radicalness, it's that same desperation to move on from something that you've been attached to for so long, right? Disney was a platform for both Britney and Miley to kind of, shoot them into the limelight. But does that mean that they have to stay that way forever? Well, no, of course not, because everybody moves on and everybody matures and everybody grows up and everybody moves past projects that they've previously been on, and that they've it's just bizarre that, like, this is a whole thing that's kind of coming on because she wanted to move on with her life and be who she really is. I mean, like, everybody knows Miley is a little bit, mental, and I say that in the Irish mental, not in, like, any sort of she's a little bit
derogatory
cracked.
term.
She's a little bit, she's just a little bit mental. But like, does that mean that she's like a bad person, or that she's not capable of managing her finances properly? No, of course not. Of course not. And it's the exact same as true of Britney. It's the same as true of anybody who is in this position. It's just so weird that
Yeah, well, I mean,
this is even a thing.
it's trying to find a balance, and every artist goes through it, male or female, regardless of what entertainment industry they're in. Actors sometimes lash out and go like, look at what's his name? Fucking, oh, I can't even think of his name now. The lad that played Harry Potter, Daniel Radcliffe.
Daniel Radcliffe,
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did he do afterwards? He went onto a show, and he went onto the West End in Aquinas, I think it was, and pretended that he was a horse, and he was naked for most of it. Do you know what I mean? To cast off the typecast that he played as Harry. You know, that was his first show. The first thing he did after playing Harry Potter was to get naked for 2 hours on a stage and pretend to be a horse.
Well,
because why wouldn't you? Do you know, every artist goes through that period where they're trying to find the balance and trying to find out their identity and who they want to be, while also respecting the fact that they have such a young audience and they have a growing audience and they have an influence. But half the time, especially with the likes of Britney, who was literally pushed into this industry by her mother predominantly, it was Lynn Spears who initially brought her to all those auditions and told her she was going to be a star. One of the management team, who was a very close friend of Britney's at the time, remembers Jamie, her dad, saying she's going to be so successful I can buy a boat. You know, it was that kind of, there was a dual attitude. She never really asked to be in the limelight. She was thrust into it. It's the same when her pop career started. She was kind of forced to be in this girl band, I think called Innocence or something, and then she left that because it was bollocks and wanted to be her own artist. You know, but because of the success of the Spice Girls, the record companies were only seeing groups because they wanted to capitalize off the success of the Spice Girls. That's what happened. So you had the likes of Eternal, you had a few other girl bands I can't think of the name of, in and around that time, because they all wanted.
Let me try and flex my fucking knowledge. Wait, we have. Probably girls around, girls allowed around the same time. Spice Girls.
No. That was after. That was way after.
Fuck off.
Come on now.
No. I'm almost 10 years younger than you. I'm fucking 8 years younger than you. Fuck off.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You're too young to remember. But no, we had Bewitched.
Extraordinarily fucking condescending, but however. Right?
Such a baby. Shush. Sorry, couldn't help it. No, actually, our answer, I can't believe I'm even saying this. Our answer to the Spice Girls was Bewitched. Yeah. Oh, the cringe. But yeah, so I mean, you had, and then the whole Monica Lewinsky thing blew up, and they were kind of looking for some sort of symbol for young women to emulate, to avoid the whole Monica Lewinsky trap. And Britney was just there. And she was forced into that role. So, and over the course of her career, she has been trying to carve out an identity for herself. And as she was doing that, the structure that she had around her pushed back against it. And you had a snap of the tether, leading to the conservatorship. Whereas you had artists in the same name, you had Christina Aguilera that avoided that pitfall. She still had kind of a mini breakdown, but it wasn't as public. And she came out with her album Stripped and completely threw everyone off course. Thank you. Math Pig has been timed out. I love it.
He called me a
Yeah.
baby, and so I rose to the occasion and I put him in timeout. It's
Only I'm allowed to say that. I'm
well,
joking.
I
I'm
can't
joking.
exactly
I'm
really
joking.
put you in timeout. But anyway, just as if like another kind of aside, the African humanist is here. Hello, I still cannot get over
No.
my like incredible love for you, even though I've only interacted with you once. So yeah, hello to you. Yes. Anyway, sorry. What were you saying?
Sorry. I can't remember. Yeah, but because of the whole Monica Lewinsky thing, there was this reinforcement of a symbol that they needed in terms of purity. And I love the fact.
I'm so sorry once again. Math pick is coming under a sock.
Hold on. Let me. Meow.
He has 12 of them. Like, this is probably
I don't care. I really wanted to do that.
There's almost no point in doing this.
I don't care. I wanted to do that. Yes. I'm able to I'm finally able to time out Math Pig for being a dick.
He's calling both of us a baby. He's under so many sock accounts.
Yes, hear my roar, biatch. Yeah, so what I was actually I heard a friend of mine, we won't name him as Math Pig, but a friend of mine did say at one stage, what was it that she about Britney Spears? What did you say? Math Pig? That she's crazy or that she's a nutter, and he'll stand by that. That's what he said. You can't even spell fascist right. Get the fuck out.
I've literally just typed in, you can't even insult us properly.
I know, right? But yeah, called her a nutter, even though he doesn't know the intricacies of the case. But yeah, that's all I'm saying, Math Pig. Do some research. And I can say that, and he can't say shit because he's not on the fucking stream because his computer is under quarantine.
I don't know if it's under quarantine is what he said, but like under maintenance or
it's under
something
quarantine.
like that. Under quarantine.
It's taking a break.
Yeah, it's basically so. Wished. I have to know.
Trial version.
Why did you just what the fuck was that? That just a trial version.
Trial version.
I don't know what the
is
fuck
this?
is going on.
What is this? What
trial
is
version?
Okay,
I don't know. Is that coming from me?
No, we're just going to mute. You can type in the private chat as soon as you're actually able to, like, as soon as you stop.
Is that better? There you go. Sorry.
How the fuck did you unmute yourself? Can you do that here?
I can do whatever I can do whatever I want with.
I actually genuinely did not know that you could do that because I muted you and you just unmuted yourself. But
no, you can unmute yourself. I found that out.
Not on my stream. Not on my stream. If I mute you, you stay muted. You can't do that on my stream.
I want to see something.
Nope, don't work here. Doesn't work here because Stephen doesn't run it.
Yeah, no, I don't. Sorry. Sammy Jenkins has said in the chat that he would, or like they would join if they could have a link. There you go. There's a link.
By all means.
So
yeah, Math Pig, about your lack of research. Speak. Come on,
the last time I heard about Britney Spears, she shaved her head.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And I have had less interest in celebrities since that happened. I have no interest in any of it whatsoever.
And so you're qualified in calling her a nutter?
I'm qualified to call anyone a nutter. I'm Math Pig. I can do what I want. You can't even time me out.
Look, I mean, So, but I mean, no, okay, so like it kind of depends on how you mean it, right? Because like, look
I
at
meant it actually in passing, having a bit of banter with Crafty, but if you look
I'm
back,
having a laugh.
and she got all wound up. No, she didn't. She's saying that now, but she got all fucking wound up, and she was like, "But this is the crack, and this is the real life, and this is infringing on people's human rights." And I'm like, "Yeah, I don't care about celebrities. Context, fucker. It's all about context." Yeah, I don't
It
care
is.
about Britney. I don't care.
And I
This is-
wasn't actually having a go. I was just clarifying for you.
Oh, I know.
Because you clearly did not do any research.
Why
But
would I?
it's the same thing as like when I called her
Interesting.
mental earlier, or when I called Miley mental earlier. Like it's the whole Irish thing. Like if you call someone like a nutter or mental or cracked, like it doesn't mean that as an insult. I mean, some of the best
No, I know.
people that I know are absolutely fucking mental, but that's why they're fun to be around.
Yes. I was just
Just out of
pointing out
curiosity,
to Halfbig.
is my audio okay? There's no
Yes.
reverb or anything.
No.
Thank you.
Fine. But I was just pointing out to Mathbig the holy lack of research that he had on the situation, that he didn't know anything about the situation. That was my point.
Yes, right. And you see, this is the thing. You have more interest in spending maybe 3 hours looking up Britney Spears, so you come on to Stephen's channel so he can sit back and go, "Damn, Crafty's fucking smart." Where I will have more interest in physics or something like that.
Psh. Whatever. Yes, I'm sorry if the world around me in terms of society is more interesting than math. I'm sorry.
Well, I just wanted to
Okay.
jump on and say both of you are babies. Babies.
Biatch. Biatch.
There you go.
Bye, biatch.
He's still in the back room. He's
back. Oh, he's back.
But with like I was just going to say, yeah, but
still a biatch.
Yeah, still a bit. Oh, look, he left. He actually
Hi,
left
Sammy.
this time. How you doing, Sammy?
Hello, Sammy.
Hello.
You need a mic. There we go.
Yes, no, I'm having issues.
Hi.
Let me try again.
No, you're there. You're there.
Oh,
We hear you.
You sound good. Oh, they just left. I didn't kick them. They left. They aren't in the back room.
Sammy will be back. I think he's just refreshing, hopefully.
Yeah, probably.
Come back to us if you can hear this.
Yeah.
Bacon, hang on. Sorry. Bacon, shut the fuck up. You're the one that cancelled our debate for tonight. Don't even. Oh, overtime. Don't even. Sammy, can you hear us?
Yes. Hello.
There you are. Hi, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. How are you all? Yes.
I'm doing
can you
all
hear
right.
me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you. No, I mean,
Yeah,
like doing pretty good. It's just, like I kind of, I had this schedule for a little while. Like, I'm not going to say that like I knew like a massive amount. Like, so like I think I did like my fair dues in like research and stuff like that. But I mean, obviously, kind of Crafty knew a little bit more than I did, which is not a rare occurrence. But
job. It is kind of my job to know what's happening in society.
Just about to compliment you, and you like, okay. You stole the thunder. You took the moment.
I
can't even compliment
Speaking of
somebody on my own
society.
fucking street and not get overshadowed. It's a little bit okay. Sure.
You should know me by now, Stephen.
Yeah, this is true. Yeah, this is true.
So, Sammy, what are your thoughts? The floor is yours.
Well, see, I think that we need to step up a little bit more as a society, because you sort of were raising a good point, which I don't think enough people ask the question of why, as a society, are we making minors sexual objects if we're not a society of fucking pedophiles? I'm just going to put that out there. You know, I know forever and a day, you know, the age of marriage was really young and all the rest of it. We won't go into all that garbage, but we now live in a time where, medicine has come to a point where we don't need to breed with 14 and 15-year-olds to ensure that our children survive. I actually remember a time when big butts weren't popular. So if we can change as a society, a lot of it obviously has to do with media and what they portray. And I know a lot of people take issue with censoring sexualism and things like that when we're so open with violence and whatnot. But, when I walk in and see my 3-year-old grinding their pelvis because they're watching, these 16 and 17-year-olds doing it on TV, what do we expect? What do we honestly expect?
But I mean, like, it's even kind of more than that, and it's kind of younger than that, because I mean, like, how many kind of, like, at best, and I'm talking at best, suspect videos are there on TikTok of very, very young children who are doing the, like, and it wouldn't even necessarily be like, like a sexualized dance, but I mean, it's kind of like, it's what they're wearing and the fact that they're kind of, that they're like on this like extremely public platform and stuff like that. Like it's just a little bit, it's just a little bit weird, I mean, like, people can kind of say that, that like TikTok is owned by, the like commies in China, but like there has to be like some sort of like moderation or some sort of, I don't know.
But that was the kind of conversation around the movie Cuties.
Well, yeah.
Broke out in around the whole, is it okay to sexualize children, which is basically what people saw that movie doing. I haven't seen it. I saw the trailer. Nope. I saw the difference between the European advertisement and the American advertisement, which was absolutely horrendous. But there was this big discussion over whether or not Cuties was going a step too far in terms of bringing pedophilia into the living room, basically. Because you have these young girls literally doing sexual dances, dressing like adults in very tight, small clothing, and whether or not that was the kind of society that we wanted to live in. And so, and it's in the same way, it is the same discussion of the standards that we hold entertainers to. Britney in an interview said at one stage, the clothes I wear on stage is not the clothes I wear in real life. It's a costume. It is a persona that I'm giving.
Yeah.
Slowly over time, the personal and the professional, because of the paparazzi, and again, as well, something we haven't really mentioned. What happened in 2007, 2008 actually helped bring about the paparazzi laws in 2010 to say that they couldn't harass someone in their ordinary lives, that they had to keep a certain distance, which is good. Now, sometimes they've taken liberties with that. But yeah, it's not okay to sexualize children. The role of the media, the role of the paparazzi in terms of how entertainers are framed, and that's why they called it framing Britney Spears, was because how she was framed in the media. She was framed in this hypersexualized way in the early days. Then she was framed as the nutter, as the crazy person who couldn't look after her kids, even though she was being swarmed. Like, there was one instance where she was walking and she nearly fell over and her baby nearly fell out of her arms, and she had a cup of coffee in the other, and she was seen pulling the coffee away. And what they said was that wasn't to protect the baby from being burnt by hot coffee. What they said was she cared more about the coffee than her baby.
Yeah, which look, I mean, yeah, because I had kind of seen that as well, which is just the biggest and the most egregious and the most like dangerous like overreach or assumptions, because you cannot possibly know what she was thinking when that happened, right? You like you can't possibly try and like figure out or to determine what her intentions was when she pulled that coffee away. Like the fact that people are making assumptions, oh yeah, no, she like did that so to save her coffee, like so that she would still have her fucking soy latte or whatever the fuck it was. The point is, like, how can you possibly know that that's the reason why she pulled the coffee away? Like,
Exactly.
Isn't it even
Like-
more simple? What was the alternative? Would you
Yeah.
prefer she poured
Yeah.
it over the child?
yes, exactly. Yeah, because I mean, like that's kind of like almost like semi-implied, or it's like, you know, oh,
What's
the
annoying-
like reason why she did this is to save the coffee. Where you know, and it's sort of like a break off, or it's like one of those like, you know, like headlines or like something, or like this like quote, but like it's like cherry picked, where it's like that's that's the bit that's cherry picked, but then the rest of that statement kind of almost naturally is, yeah, well, the reason why she pulled the coffee away was to save the coffee, whereas naturally, you know, you just pour it over your fucking infant, right? That's the kind of like natural flow or the natural carry on from that statement, which is like, no, obviously not. Like, you obviously save your fucking child. It's like,
Yeah. And I think you've actually hit on something there, because sorry, child.
you're all good, man. You're all good.
It seems that that's what's happened with her entire life. You know, to give, like you've done a couple of times, the rundown of her life viewed through the media was a 16-year-old thrust into the sexual limelight. Then, when she went crazy, she's sort of seen as the crazy slut, and it just went from there. Whereas, you know, what I'm hearing from you on this stream, the facts surrounding each incident is just what's been, you know, what's been missing from this narrative the whole time.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't sell.
Exactly. It doesn't sell. I mean, if you look at the footage of that incident, I was trying to find it there, I couldn't find it. If you look at the footage from that incident, when she slips, her head snaps to the left. What's in the left hand? Her baby. It does not slip to the right, which was holding her coffee. So she did not care more about the coffee than her baby. The difference is with her bodyguard was right beside her to catch the baby, just in case he actually did fall out of her arms. Now, she caught him. But it's the fact that, as you say, nobody, not one person in the media asked the question. If the alternative was the coffee falling all over her baby, was she not right to save the fucking coffee when she had a bodyguard right beside her to catch the baby, to help her catch the baby? Like, her head snapped to the left. Now, I did basic psychology, but if your head in an instant like that, and here's the thing, in an instant like that, there are tell signs of what you want. Like, people say, if someone was in danger, you would jump to save the one you care about the most. The fact that her head snapped to the left, she cared more about her baby. Any psychologist would be able to tell you that. But not one person in the media thought it was a good idea to actually indicate that maybe she saved her coffee because it would have spilled all over her baby if she had not. But she caught them both. She didn't drop her baby, like, and her head again snapped to the left to the baby, not to the coffee. It was just how it was framed in the media that Britney cares more about coffee than her baby. It was absolutely outrageous.
Yeah, but it's like, just because, and like, look at, like, this is an entirely kind of separate thing about like the whole kind of, problem with the media and like what sells and what doesn't, and what look good and like what looks good and what doesn't, is this whole thing about like, it's not as sexy for the media for them to go, oh my God, look at Britney, isn't she an amazing mother? Like, she like had this little tumble and she immediately cared for her child, and her first instinct was to go and, save the child or to protect the child, right? That's not as sexy as saying, well, she had this trip, and I mean, like, like, it kind of appears that maybe she cared about the coffee more. Oh my God, Britney's a bad mother, because that sells an awful lot more. That's going to make the headlines more or quicker than
So the
saying that,
question
like,
is, because
yeah,
people love a good fluff story, unfortunately, as well. It's like the
yeah,
news are known for doing it, to sort of curb suicide around news time and stuff. It's like the world's going to shit. Now here's a duck on a skateboard.
yeah.
So how do we as a society get away from needing that sensationalism?
I mean, I think it's just kind of about education and an extension of empathy, and of kind of realizing that, I mean, like, if this was you, or if this was somebody that you cared about who was in this exact situation, like, how would you react, or how would you how would you respond? It's like kind of just about like putting both of those things into kind of action, and about, like, realizing how the media works. That's just first off. But secondly, like, what kind of like sells better, and, like, how quickly the media, as this like broad and very, very, like, big and powerful institution, can so easily, spin a story, or to twist what the facts are to kind of fit, to like best fit their narrative of like what, and like, this is going to sound like so strange, but I get that, like, everybody's going to get what I mean by this, but like, what looks better and what sounds better for them, because it's going to get them clicks, and it's going to get them, like, everybody rushing to their thing. It's like just about kind of people learning, that like, this is what the media is about, and about what, like, how they run and how they operate and how they make a profit, essentially.
Well,
I think
okay.
it's just about those two things.
It's about more as well. I agree completely with you. The other thing, the biggest issue, is the whole Britney Spears phenomena happened in and around the invention of the 24-hour news cycle. That's so they had to fill air.
Yeah.
How did they do that? Causing controversy. By 2007, 2008, you had social media starting and the blow up of social media. So all of a sudden, and here's the thing with the reliance on, and this is why the paparazzi laws really became important, and how their role in this is important. Before social media, the only way we as a consumer, we as fans of music or fans of entertainment, the only way we got our news of the celebrities, of the people that we supported and loved, was through these tabloid newspapers, were through the magazines. That is how we got our news. And that's why they were so prominent. That's why they had such an impact. Because there was no social media in 2005, 2004. When in the run-up to the 2007 bullshit that happened. When Britney Spears and Justin Timberlake broke up, literally the only way you were able to get news was through these magazines. And they were so desperate because, again, they were starting this 2005 really was when the 24-hour news cycle started. You had all of a sudden newspapers that are willing to pay. I think one of the photos of Britney got $500,000 for one photo of her using the umbrella to smash up a car. That got $500,000. Like, one person said that they could, if they got one picture, they could buy a house in Malibu. Do you know what I mean? So there was this incentive to get crazy pictures because they would sell for more. And so you had to be there every moment of every day with these celebrities in order to get the best picture, in order to get paid the ridiculous amounts. And Britney Spears was America's sweetheart. She was America's sweetheart, and she was going through this transition. She was smoking, she was drinking, she was no longer a child, she's an adult now. And so when they could get her in compromising situations, as I said, at one point they were laying down as she opened the car so they could get a snap of her upper skirt. This is how desperate these people became, and vulturous. You know, that is the only way people, and it's sold, because that was the only way people could know about what was going on in celebrity life and the perpetuation towards celebrity. So the first thing was to bring in the paparazzi laws, to confine them to the professional life and to say, yes, I'm a celebrity, but hang on, I'm an entertainer when I'm on. Someone actually said to me the other day, I think it was Bacon Earth, we were having this conversation. When I'm on a live stream, I'm on, you know, I'm performing. It's kind of like a performance, you know. I'm not this hyper aware in normal life. I don't always. I'm very fucking antisocial. Do you know what I mean? I'm not this. I don't know, interactive in ordinary life. I put my head down. I do my work. I come home, whatever. I keep myself to myself. I'm not this social in real life, and so when I log off, does that mean that people who support my channel should have 24-hour access? So we have to first of all, start seeing celebrities not as simply celebrities, but human beings. So the first course is to allow them to have a personal, private life. There are various big named stars who have children who will not allow pictures of their children to be published in newspapers or in magazines or on media or social media. The reason being is because they chose this life, but their children didn't. So their children have to wait until they're old enough to decide whether or not they want their picture taken, which is the correct way of doing things. By showing these celebrities as normal, everyday human beings, by explaining that as children progressing into adulthood, that they should not be held to this unachievable, unobtainable standard of purity. By explaining to people, and this is where the media needs to step up and say, we cannot hold this person to a standard that they cannot obtain. They cannot hold to. They're a normal person. Get the fuck over it. You know, this is what normal people go through. And the other thing then is media laws. There has to be legislation forcing responsible journalism, that it's not just harassment, that it's not just out of control, whatever they see fit, that there has to be laws, there has to be lines drawn in the sand, and they cannot cross. So let's say someone has a nervous breakdown and they say, I don't want paparazzi around. The paparazzi have to fuck off and allow them those moments. When Britney was having a very public breakdown, she actually came out and she was sobbing. She had about 70 paparazzi around her saying, what's wrong? Why are you crying? Why are you crying? It's like, get the fuck away from the child. Do you know what I mean? Leave her the fuck alone and allow her to have her thoughts. But no, they sat there and as she was crying with her dog in her lap, taking pictures of her for 20 minutes. Instead of actually putting down the camera and giving her a fucking hug and saying it's going to be okay. And this is the problem. When you see a celebrity as beyond human or not fully a human or so privileged that they're not allowed their human rights, then there are no lines. They chose to be in the public limelight and therefore they're not allowed to have a private self. That's dangerous. That needs to be reversed. Rant over.
No, look, it's it's good to have a rant. Obviously, I'm kind of known for having one on my channel, as it was kind of, what was the famous quote that you said a few weeks ago, Crafty? You were unsure as to how I was going to extend taking the compass test to an hour, but I fucking managed it. So yeah,
That was interesting.
Yeah, look, I think that we've kind of said, like, almost, all that we're kind of going to say on this. So, I mean, Sammy, like, if you have any other, thoughts or any other opinions that you want to kind of throw out there, you can go for it. You are muted.
You are muted.
I was just going to say, I don't know if you're aware of that, but you are muted.
Mute button comes into play again. I think he's doing something. I'm not sure. Yeah. It's 1 a.m. and I do need to sleep at some point.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. Yeah, I'm getting fairly fucking tired now as well. So yeah, that's kind of, all. Obviously, I actually kind of updated the title of this video as we were kind of going, because the hashtag on Twitter is Free Britney, and
did I hear a dog?
Yes.
I unmuted and the dog barked. Right.
Yay, dog! Woo, dog! I love puppies.
So yeah, so look at, yes, obviously I agree with freeing Britney. She shouldn't have been kind of put into this point to kind of start off with. But she's in it now, and she needs to get herself free, because she's an autonomous, highly successful, independent woman, and she needs to have control over her own life. If she's kind of comfortable, kind of, still being in the idea of a conservatorship, but just having somebody else in a control, obviously that's completely up to her. And if she wants to do that, and if she's happy to do that, I've no way of kind of saying, well, no, that you shouldn't have that you should be in control. If she's happy having somebody else in control, absolutely no problem. But the like obvious kind of issue here is that the relationship between her and who is currently in control of her finances, that relationship is an extremely negative one. And yeah, it's I'm just glad and I'm happy that we're talking about it, because it's just one of those things that kind of does need to be kind of talked about, about spreading awareness and about spreading education about the entire situation as a whole. So yeah, look, as it was kind of a little bit said during the stream, or there was like a slight off reference kind of made to it during the stream, I have a feeling that if Crafty is around at the same time next week, that she'll probably want to come in for this one. But next week's stream, which I have not scheduled yet, but I will as soon as this is over, is going to be on the movie Music by Sia. So yeah, I'm going to have. Sorry.
That is a clusterfuck in itself.
Yeah,
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I'm going to have a little bit more of I'm not going to say a tougher time, but I'm going to have a little bit more of like a personal connection with this one, not because like I'm autistic or anything else like that, or like anybody in my family is. It's just I have been a colossal fan of Sia for, I'm going to say, 4 or 5 years now. So yeah,
Amen.
it's going to be
I'm a
a little,
huge fan of Sia,
yeah.
and I have an autistic child.
Don't
And
watch this movie then.
Yeah,
I've
don't.
I've watched reviews on it, and I'm not going to touch it with a 40-foot pole because
Yeah.
the reviews alone were triggering me.
That is correct.
So,
I have to say I understand where Sia's heart was in this. It's just that the actual
execution.
execution was dreadful.
Way off the mark. I mean, when
Yeah.
when you have an autistic actress willing to come in and play the role and then leave because of the role, it's kind of problematic.
That's
Kind of problematic.
That
It
should
kind
have
of tells you
been-
right there. It kind of tells you right there. Sia should have stopped.
yeah, like that was it. Like obviously that was just like one event or one instance, but that really should have been like the equivalent of about 12 red flags of like,
Yeah.
okay, something has fucked up here and we need to fix it because this is not good.
And then the link to Autism Speaks. Like, I mean, this is a group just so people are prepared going into next week. This is a group who actively campaign to promote the idea that autism is an illness and that they should be locked away for their own good, and that there's demons inside people. Like, this is not a good group that she aligned herself with. And then they came out and blasted her. They disassociated from the movie. Now, when Autism Speaks disassociates with your movie, you know you done fucked up.
Yeah. So I haven't
have fun
seen
next
it.
week.
I haven't seen it. I don't know. Like, it'll probably be the best stream that I can possibly do if I do watch it, but I genuinely don't know if I have the strength.
Well,
Because
here's the thing. Do you really want to be slagged off yet again on your own stream for not doing the research?
I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Like, it's so, because like, look at, like, I'm not even going to pretend that I have any sort of like like a personal connection in the kind of typical sense that that's kind of said in. But I mean, like, part of my work experience for college is like I've worked with autistic kids, and I spent months in work placement working with it. So it's just like, it's not a personal connection in that like literal sense, but I mean, like, I don't. Oh God!
I want you to watch it. I want you to watch it because, and the reason why I want you to watch it, is because the rants that will come out of you next week will be fucking mighty, and they will not be as effective if you're not speaking from experience of watching how horrendous this film is.
And I just want to point out, in your defense, if you didn't do your due diligence with your research, I would think that's forgivable in this case, because when there are so many millions of high functioning people with autism who could have given Sia even the simplest advice, she clearly sought no advice when writing this role. That's evident just in the clips and adverts I've seen for it.
Yeah.
So, where's her due diligence?
Yeah.
When the people with autism wanted no bar of it, why did she not turn around and say, all right, what am I missing? Like, I want to make it an important message, such an important message, and she's ruined it.
Yeah. And what's worse is she is high functioning autistic herself.
Yeah.
That's what fucking annoys me about the whole entire
Yeah.
thing. She thinks, and this is the problem with people with special needs, when they act out on their own, is that they think that because of their experience, and I've had personal experience of this, they think that because they have a particular experience, it is the same for everyone across the board. No, it's not. And what's more offensive for me was not only did she miss the mark completely in terms of the message about autism, but what's worse is she tanned a very good dancer to make her look biracial.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
What was she thinking?
there
What
was
was she thinking?
so many missed marks in this film. Yeah, it's just
You can only laugh about it because otherwise you would cry.
Yeah.
Okay, I
It
think
sounds to me, the more you say about it, it sounds like someone who is eccentric, lost touch with reality. Her fame has obviously, affected her ability to connect with.
Rational thinking?
Well,
Yes.
yeah.
But yeah, no. Good luck with that. Well, just real quick, because I'm going to jump off now. It's like, tomorrow morning, it's 1 a.m. here, so 11:30 UTC. On my channel, I have Life on the Flip Side with Steam and Cup of Reason, as I do every week. This week's on my channel, next week's on his channel, and we have a guest called John Rapp, who has been around the debunk community, which I'm in, for a very long time, and it's his first time on a stream, so that's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to that. I have a lot coming up. And Stephen, I do need to talk to you about a new show that I'm running in the first weekend of March. Is called Ion Society, and we're looking at Burma, or Myanmar, as a lot of you know it at the moment. It's in the headlines for the coup that happened in the last month. So we're going to be looking at the history of Burma, how it developed, why it developed in the way it did, and why the coup took place and what's happening now. So yeah, that's going to be fun. Okay. That's the first weekend of March.
Now here's a duck on a skateboard.
Yeah, okay. So look, for the good of the rant, I will watch music.
Yes. I will be watching. It will be mighty.
Purely just for the good of the rant, I will watch music, because if it's anything like what you guys are saying. Yeah. Okay.
Can I watch it with you, because I want to see the rage?
What do you mean?
Do a reaction. Do a reaction of it, because the rage. Oh, the rage would be mighty.
Oh, okay.
I want to see you as you're watching it. Basically, I want to see what your expressions are when you see some of the things that she comes up with, some of the facial bullshit that fucking Maddie pulls. I want to see that rage, because you're going to rage. Do me a favor. Do me a favor. Well, do not go anywhere near your screen, because you'll punch it.
Okay. Little bit of just a slight change then. Rather than next Saturday talking about music, next Saturday I'm going to live stream me watching music. So
oh, brilliant.
Yes, the rants, the reactions, the everything will be very, very live and all of those things. So, okay. Yeah, that's what we're going to be doing next Saturday.
Yeah, just don't, as long as you don't put it on the screen, then I think it's okay for you to react to it. I know copyright, there's issues, there might be issues over copyright.
Just to kind of slightly, just to do a little bit of a slight demo rather than having it like this in the layout. I could have it like that.
You could. I don't know
Because that's how
the
a lot of
rules.
like reactors kind of do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like if
have it
they're
as a
reacting
tiny
to
little screen.
something, yeah, just that little tiny one. Because I don't know, it just kind of. It's just
Oh, I
because
want
it's
a
not
bigger.
like the full screen. Okay. Oh. I'm already dreading this. I'm already dreading this.
I've
look-
seen bits of it. I've seen bits of it, and I cannot wait to see your reaction to it. I actually want to watch you as you're watching it.
Okay, all right, okay. We've been trying to end this stream for the last couple of minutes. So, like, subscribe, do all that YouTuber bollocks. And yeah, so Wednesday on the channel is the premiere of the modern day debate mirror, where two conservatives get cocked with facts and logic. And that's going to be on Saturday, 6 p.m. Eastern, 11 p.m. UK time. Yeah, then Saturday we'll
I
we'll
just want
see
to
how
say,
that goes.
JC Drifter says, "Yay, peer pressure works well."
What? Yeah, kind of does. Look, if it's just, like if it's going to make better content, then yeah, fuck it, because. Oh god, okay. I'm already trying to fucking psych myself up for it. Like, is it available online, the movie?
Yeah, I've seen bits of it, but I don't know where to get it online. But we'll see. We'll see.
I'll try and get like a
Bootleg.
I have a week to try and find some stuff. So anyway, thank you so much to everybody who turned up to be in the stream. Thank you to Keela, thank you to Sammy, thank you to Math Pig very briefly. Yeah, thank you to everybody who turned up in the live chat. Yeah, just thank you to everybody, and I'll be in. Yes, there is obviously the. Oh God, no! I'm highlighting too many things. Yes, there is a link to Crafty's YouTube. Go and sub. So yeah, join me on Wednesday. I will be in the live chat with you during that premiere. It will be glorious. And then and then next week for blind reaction to music, I guess. So right, okay. And with that, we will talk to you next time.